Sanchez says when he took office in 2003, under the newly created Consolidated Commission on Utilities, a review of the island's water resources was done. And to their surprise, they discovered sewer lines built under previous administrations that were not being used.
Well, what we found out is they put in water lines and sewer lines, but they didn't connect any of the hotels or water customers to the new water lines. And then they built these sewer lines, but they're not connected to pump stations.
Sanchez confirms a 24 to 36-inch sewer line in Tumon was in fact installed during the Tumon Bay redevelopment project about a decade ago. Gov Guam floated a $50 million bond to pay for it.
As a result, we have water and sewer lines that were put in, are being paid for by ratepayers, but they're not serving anybody, and yet we've already spent the money. This was the previous administration's management of that bond down in Tumon, and they've completely provided a disservice to ratepayers.
Sanchez says he doesn't know why the Tumon sewer line was never hooked up.
Why someone was allowed to build a system without hooking up the water customers, and why we would build a system that was incomplete, is a question you need to ask the previous administration. We didn't even have plans at GWA for what was done in Tumon. We had to discover them on our own through our testing equipment and just by asking some people, and then eventually we got the plans.
And then there's more. The CCU and GWA found other unused sewer lines, claiming they've known of their existence for at least 3 years now, and there's no telling how much money was pumped into it.
We discovered the Agana line, we discovered the Tumon lines, and we've discovered other lines too that we don't know why they were built or where they were going, because the maps were terrible when we took office. There were no maps.
In the meantime, the moratorium on any new development for the central part of the island remains in place, and while realtors and developers continue to voice their frustration, Sanchez says lifting this moratorium will require major upgrades to the system, including hooking up these abandoned lines, installing more lines, and building more pumping stations.